Hi everyone, for this exercise science class video, I'm going to be doing a balance pose analysis for a yoga pose known as the chair pose. So the primary muscles include the quads, which control knee flexion and maintain the squat. And we know the quads, of course, include the vastus medialis, lateralis, intermedius, and rectus femoris. The gluteus maximus controls hip extension. Gluteus medius and minimus control frontal plane hip stability and prevent excess hip adduction. The gastroc and soleus stabilize the ankle and control forward movement of the tibia, while our spinal extensor muscles maintain upright trunk position and prevent excess trunk flexion. As far as the secondary muscles that are involved, we have the hamstrings, which assist with hip stabilization and control the descent. The adductors contribute to hip stabilization also. The tibialis anterior stabilizes the ankle and controls the body's center of mass. Our core musculature, including transversus abdominis, multifidus, internal external obliques, rectus abdominis, stabilizes the trunk and pelvis, and our rotator cuff and shoulder stabilizers basically stabilize the shoulder complex. Now, the primary muscles do various different types of contractions. The quads start out with eccentric contractions and move to isometric. The glute max is the same, eccentric into an iso contraction. Glute med and min do iso. Calves are iso and eccentric. Spinal extensors are isometric. For our secondary stabilizers, the shoulder is in isometric contraction, while the core is also in isometric, and the hamstring muscles do a combination of isometric and eccentric. So during the descent into the chair pose, the quads and glute maximus are primarily working eccentrically to control knee and hip flexion. Once the desired position is reached, the muscles transition towards isometric contraction in order to hold the posture. Now, if the individual rises back up to standing, the quads and glutes primarily perform concentric contractions to extend the knees and the hips. All right, so to discuss the balance components that are being challenged in this pose, so first of all, the center of mass is moving posteriorly as the person flexes the hips and the knees. The person must keep their center of mass within the base of support created by either 2 feet or one foot. You can see in this example, the lady is on 1 foot. And the deeper knee and hip flexion increases the challenge because maintaining the center of mass over the feet becomes actually more demanding. Postural stability is also challenged as the trunk must maintain relatively upright while the hips move backwards. The core and the spinal musculature must prevent excessive trunk flexion or extension. Raising the arms overhead changes the distribution of mass and increases the postural control demand. The ankle musculature continuously has to make small adjustments as the body is maintaining its position, and a greater forward displacement of the knees or the trunk can increase the demand on plantar flexors and dorsiflexors. As far as the hip muscles, particularly glute max and medius, are controlling the pelvis and the trunk, and a deeper squat or a narrower stance increases the demand for hip control. So because the pose is performed with the feet in contact with the floor, of course, the individual is receiving substantial sensory input from the feet and the ankles as well as the knees and hips, but changing the surface, like the stability of the surface, the type of surface can alter sensory input and then, of course, affect the balance. So there are many variables that you can alter when performing the chair pose. For example, you can alter the base of support. A narrower stance makes it more difficult. Widening your stance makes it easier. And if you stand on 2 feet, of course, that's going to be easier than balancing on just 1 foot. If you are on a more unstable or soft surface, that would make the pose more difficult. If you deepen the flexion, that makes the pose more difficult and requires more strength. You can move your arms into different positions, either the prayer pose or up overhead. If you move your arms overhead, that is a more difficult in terms of the posture. Holding the pose for a longer duration, of course, requires a greater muscular endurance. Closing the eyes, as we saw in lab, creates a higher challenge for balance and proprioception. And as I said, if your feet are closer or narrower together, that is more difficult. If you have an external support, such as a wall or a chair that you can hold on to, that would make it obviously easier. And then changing the speed of your descent will alter the challenge. If you descend more quickly, that is a more difficult challenge that requires quicker postural adjustments. All right, well, thank you so much for watching.